Part 90. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 899. The old man didn't cry. He sat next to her and held her hand. I killed her. But, I just want to ask her child's dad. She wants to see her for a while, so she's so excited. I never thought she would fall. She likes this child, and I followed her. I never thought about it, she never thought of her death. Afei, she still misunderstood me until she died. Why is she so cruel? You talk about how she can be so cruel, while asking me to take a vow, but not trusting me. She said that she would give me an old age care, and she would watch me die. She said it was all right. Why did she just break her word? Afei, I'm obviously she's dead, look at it, she's so dead, how can she be so selfish? I can do whatever she says, I listen to her everything, how can she still so selfish? I always loved the old man who was crying in front of Luo Fei. This time, not only did he not cry, he did not even cry. However, the old man was ill. Just stood up and fainted on the ground. Staying in the ward all night, it seemed like he was 10 years old. The murmur in his mouth has always been clear. The old man fell, but he couldn't fall. Even if he turned his head countless times, he wanted to shout clearly, even if he still didn't want to believe that she had really gone. What you should do, you still have to do. Her follow-up was handled by Luo Fei. It was about her early death, and her friends, colleagues, and partners in the film and television industry came one by one on her funeral day. It really alarmed half of the entertainment circle. Luo Fei did not expect her popularity to be so good. Han Yi and the dollar and the one named Zhao Tian also came. Every time he met, he asked how she died. How did she die? Luo Fei knew from the old man's intermittent words that the old man and the doctor said in advance that he would take some amniotic fluid while helping her to check her body, and then check who the child's father was. Although the old man could love Wei and Wu to take care of her child, she suffered so much during pregnancy. She almost breathed a few times in her sleep to scare the old man to death, so the man who put her in danger was not if you plan to let go, you must get revenge. But the child's father, not Han Yi, not dollars, or Zhao Rishan. The old man sifted almost all the males around her, but still couldn't find the child's father. The old man didn't expect that she would overheard the call. She was so excited that when she turned, her feet fell and she fell. I couldn't get down on the operating table. When she heard of her death, Luo Fei thought that she had no more sorrow than death, and even the feeling of sorrow was gone. But when I saw the paternity test, the whole person seemed to fall into hell. The culprit, which the old man couldn't find, was at home. This matter cannot be concealed from my father. Because of such a trivial matter, she died. The old man had no way to untie this puppet in his heart, and then he thought that it would be his own child. Although he had a ligation operation, maybe he could still get pregnant? So the old man did another paternity test. This time, although it was not a father-son relationship, the old man's DNA was very similar to that of the child. When the old man in the hospital bed was excited, he thought of Luo Fei. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 900. Instead of asking the old man to ask for verification, Luo Fei has taken the initiative to give the old man the results of his and her identification. I didn't expect his son to put himself in a green hat. And he has always been proud of his son. If before, Luo Zi was overly sad because of the death of Yanj, now all his life beliefs are completely destroyed. The two most important people in his life turned out to betray him. He can care about her with other men, but how can she sleep with her son? Luo Zi, who was still in the hospital bed, stared at Luo Fei with blood, so angry that he couldn't even say a word, and passed out before breathing. The old man didn't want to see Luo Fei. Because of her accidental premature delivery, her child has been living in an incubator, and she has not been out of danger. So when looking after the old man, he goes to see the child from time to time. The old man said that before she was unconscious, the old man had to take a vow of poison, asking the old man to treat this child as his own, and to raise him well. Looking at the sleeping child across the glass, Luo Fei couldn't help thinking, did she know that she was pregnant with his child? How could she not know? The old man woke up in the middle of the night and saw him enter the door, his eyes staring at him. Until he got to the bedside, he was pinched by the old man, and the old man asked if he forced her. Luo Fei nodded to the old man's extremely angry look with little hesitation. He forced her from start to finish. It was he who did that while she was drunk. It was he who did not take the slightest responsibility afterwards to take it as it happened. He even feared that she would be embarrassed, so he avoided her all the time. What's wrong with him? All things done in her life are to her. If you like someone, you should make her happy. But he put her in despair. The old man was so angry that he threw everything at his hands onto him. Scolded him beastly. A person without restraint is no different from a beast. He had no restraint in front of her, killed her, and deserved the word beast. So in the face of the old man's scolding and beating, Luo Fei stood still. There was a moment in my heart, and I even thought that if she died like this, it would be good to be with her. But how could it die? The old man was completely frustrated by Luo Fei's inability to move. So the child and her funeral are all running in a chain. Busy makes people forget everything. But now he is so busy, but he is always reminding him that she is dead, because of him. At her funeral, the old man also appeared, but it didn't take long before she was re-entered into the hospital because of grief. Many people are sorry for her, and feel that her young age is really talented in the field of directors, and the people who marry are good. After all, the three good husband of the old man is famous in the circle. Because of this, she died prematurely, which made everyone very sorry. Luo Fei is like a clockwork robot, talking to these people as a cheap son all day. But what the other party said, and what he said, he didn't have any impression. Sending everyone away, he can finally stand in front of her spirit. He knelt before her spirit, looked up, and faced her eyes in the photo. Qingming he stared at her, his voice softly, and said to himself, now like this, are you satisfied? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 901. Obviously she did all this to get revenge. She knew that she might feel that she was deadly. Obviously, all these things are her round by loop rounds. But he still involuntarily entered her trap, and sadness could not be added. Luo Fei stared at the brightly smiling woman in the frame, and wanted to reach out and rub her hair, but in the end, her fingers stopped in the air. Qingming, would you be happy if I and the old man were sad all my life? But she is dead, and they haven't seen it well or badly. Why are you so cruel? Be others, be yourself. Is it because he is full of hate? But even if you hate it, it shouldn't be such revenge. How can this kind of revenge that hurts 800 people and damage 1000 people can be regarded as revenge? If you hate, you should step on the other's feet, you should live happily in front of the other, and make the other person envious, jealous, and hateful. This is called revenge. Why is she so stupid? Naturally, she could not respond to him. She in the frame still smiled silly at him. Smiling so bright and so happy. Qingming, do you have nothing to tell me? What did you think about that day? Do you hate me very, very much? But she didn't answer, and still looked at him with a smile. Just as she had in the past, Even in extreme pain, she just laughed before him. Qingming, I have so much to tell you. She had nothing left for him, but he had so many things to tell her. So many words rested on him, turning around every night. Never dare to say. Never could say. But now, I want to say, but the person opposite can no longer hear. She must have hated him and the old man very, very much. He did not hesitate to break away from them in this way. She also hated him especially, otherwise he would not be so sad. But he likes her. He likes her. I opened my mouth, and those words that were accumulated in my heart didn't say any more in the end. It will be half a month after all her affairs have been dealt with. She gave birth to a little girl, and the old man named Luo Qingming for the little girl. This time, the surname is Luo. The old man would treat the little girl as his own daughter. This time, he stared at him, and he would never allow the old man to have a little bit of misrepresentation. But obviously, he thought too much. Even if the old man and him were intolerable, the old man always took care of the child who he had exchanged for his life as his closest relative. It is true that she is raising her own daughter. The old man has been in the hospital often since she died. On the day of her death, the old man finally no longer had a unilateral cold war with him, but after drinking, he held his hand and wept loudly. It's too painful to live this day, I want to find her, I want to find she, but she asked me to take a vow and asked me to raise my child. She said that if I kept my word, I would never find her again in the next life. Luo Fei, you son of a turtle, you ruined me clearly, I hate you, I hate you. Luo Fei allowed the old man to drunk crazy and remained silent. In the 3rd year of her death, the old man finally couldn't stand it and committed suicide. Luo Fei was extremely calm, and did the old man's funeral again. All the things between them, now only he knew. Since then, he has been alone. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 902. Yanj returned to the green hat space. The first time is to look at the ontology in his chaotic space. To her surprise, although there was no extra green sprouts growing on the body this time, the appearance looked thicker, and one of the green buds had grown a lot, which is expected to become her first branch thick and dry. The cock's voice rang in her ear, Wood, that guy is blackened to the 5th grade, the 5th grade, the pit is blackened, why is it blackened again? Tune. What's wrong with this guy, how can he be black? The mighty one is blackened. Yan Ji frowned, but didn't respond to the cub's words. After this mission was completed, the chicken had another green hat on its head, and its entire small head was almost occupied by the green hat. But now it doesn't care about it either, just flapping its wings and furiously scurrying around. Mum, what is this guy's darkening point? Does he not like this green hat system? After that, the chicken suddenly realized, he didn't have blackened before when the fan system was in it. He must have been blackened because of the green hat system. Yanj reminded him, in the fandom system, this guy is blackened to the 4th level. The chicken murmured, but immediately, with wings fluttering and whispering, Wood, do you know what the blackening level is? Levels 5 and 4.5 are upside down. There is no harm to the level below 5. But 5 or more, it is not just harmful things. This guy is now 5, blackened 5. The talked a lot, seeing the song standing in the same place as if it were traveling in the sky, so angry that it didn't make a lot of smoke. Can you take the wood seriously? Do you know how the previous people and systems of the hang up? Damn, labor and capital just found out today, those systems and missions were killed by this powerful man. It is probably that Yanj performed well in the green hat system this time, and the green hat system was upgraded with a click. Of course, in the opinion of the cubs, the upgrade of the green hat system has nothing to do with the performance of Yanj. The main reason is that this system is too garbage, so it will be easy to upgrade. There was still no expression on Yanj's face, and the was agitated. Black eats black, this is black eats black, it. Those systems and missionaries are not vegetarian. This mighty man, he will eat those guys when he is not blackened, and now blackened to the 5th level. The next time you meet him, you may be disassembled by him. Hemp eggs, Laozi's divine beasts, don't you want to bury you for such an IQ offline wood, Laozi is really dead. The cock's voice was already sharp, and this let go of his voice, but it was really a magic sound. Yan Ji frowned and swept around, only to find that Zhu Wei shrank in the corner with earmuffs to sleep. It is estimated that it has been filled with ears by the chick's magic sound. Today, none of the statements can enter the new level. Yan Ji can only say patience, don't you say that too? I'm the first questist to blacken him, maybe he's blackened until the end will become a Buddha. The cock's round eyes were glaring at the words, and the expression was clearly saying, what do you dream of spring and autumn? However, because of the superimposed green hat on its head and the green hat in its eyes, this speechless anger came to the word song and became another meaning. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 903. This guy changed his skin, and instantly changed from a hanging wire to a tall, cute adorable, even the words were seduced by this guy. She reached out and rubbed the chicken's head, good, trust me. The first stared at the face with shock, and then trembled, and the hair on his body burst into thorns that erected in the next moment. Look down, don't touch Lao Tzu. The sound was deafening, shaking the green hat space, and a green hat was shaken from all directions and hit the chickens and the words. The chicken screamed, Lao Tzu's body can only be touched by Lao Tzu's object. Lao Tzu has to chop your paw. After Yanj entered the new plane, he was unable to stabilize his trembling heart. I didn't expect that the chicken was so terrible. Do you just touch your head? How many times has she been touched by the powerful person, and if she is so calm with the cub, can she survive to this day? I really do. Yanj was so anxious that he chopped his own hand when the cub was screaming and roaring. Now it's hard to get rid of it, it took a few breaths to calm down. In the new plane, the host is an ordinary person like the darling of the world. All the way to the end of the immortal, soaring one after another small world, the big waves and sand finally ushered in the exciting Changxian soaring. She soared in the eyes of everyone envious. She soared through countless small worlds, and was not too panicked or excited about this soaring. The big waves rushed into the sand, and the last ones were all people who were basically unhappy and sorrowful. The same goes for the host. What Xiaoxian is pursuing the avenue, soaring, and the goal of living is only soaring. However, this time into the new small world after ascension, everything is different from what the host thinks. Before she could stabilize her state, she was carried into a cage by two people. Every time it soars, it is basically at the bottom in the new small world. This time, it is no different from before. After soaring, I encountered various situations. Now, in this situation, although the host is surprised, he is not afraid, but tries to talk to the two burly men carrying the cage. Excuse me, where is this? Where am I? Where are you taking me? The two burly men did not respond. The host had just gone through the ascension, and Dantian was empty and immortal. Not to mention breaking the cage, she couldn't even struggle. She was later put into a pocket by one of the big men. She could not see anything black in the pocket. When she even rolled out the cage, she was already in a very large room. There are many cages in the empty house surrounded by magic spells, and the cages are all the cultivators who have ascended from various small worlds like her. Only from the intermittent conversations of these people did the host know that this so-called divine realm is not friendly to the immortals who have risen from various small worlds. Everyone was put here in a cage, and every now and then, there were a lot of cages in the room. Those in the disappeared cages were all dead. The life scenery in the small world one by one is at the top of the food chain. But now after soaring, they suddenly turned into fish that could be slaughtered by anyone. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 904. No one is willing to be in this situation. But even if you don't want to be reconciled, you can't escape the cage. A group of people arrived in the cage, a group of people left, and later, it was the host's turn to be carried away. It is one thing to have a weak discussion with everyone in this room. It is another mood to be really taken away and experience what those predecessors said. The host is very stingy. However, despite being embarrassed, my heart gave birth to countless pride. She didn't believe it, she would die. Will not let the mermaid flesh. The host was first carried to the back of a luxury car, with many cages that closed her such a cultivator. She listened to the two women in front of the car and spoke unscrupulously, and realized what kind of world the so-called divine realm was. They, the immortals who have experienced countless hardships and ascended to the realm of God, will be fed as food in this realm to the existence of a devouring beast. It is said that this devouring beast is always hungry. Once hungry, eat everything, even heaven and earth are no exception. Because of this, the people of these gods are almost consumed by the devouring beasts. In order to be able to develop in the long run, the various races of the realm can only hunt for people who have risen from the low-level small world to actively feed them to the devouring beasts. Several large families feed in turns. If the ascending people in the small world are not enough to swallow the beasts and plug their teeth, they can only use the people in their families to make up. The two women in front of the car were complaining that there are fewer and fewer immortals who have ascended to the world. If this continues, all ethnic groups can only operate with their own ethnic groups, but in order to avoid this situation, the major families are in every effort is made to throw some artifacts into the small world, so as to attract more cultivators to soar. The carriage suddenly changed after a while. Two assassinated astronauts hijacked the car and succeeded. The rare unity of the ascended hosts this time is discussing how to return to the lower realm and advertise the things in the divine realm. Don't let countless cultivators come here again. Because the practice of the host is special, it can tear through the void, so everyone saved her all the notes, and she wanted to let her go. Those from the divine world came soon, and everyone was fighting with a mortal heart, but it was obvious that in front of those people, the host was like a lamb just to be slaughtered. The host who was guarded by everyone, in order to make the fairy power in her body more, everyone still conveyed the fairy power to her. In one respect, the host is the hope of all people, and the hope of the entire lower world. However, it was not expected that the host could not shuttle after tearing the space. This so-called divine realm can only go in but not go out. She wandered through the cracks in the dark space until she died, and she couldn't go back. The desire of the host is more fraternal. It is to hope that the situation here in the world can be returned to various small worlds, and that those who are immortals in the small world don't want to ascend to the world stupidly, and hope to rescue those companions. The wish is simple. However, the possibility of realization is basically zero. Because this divine realm can only go in but not go out. Otherwise, the people of all races of the world have already run away completely, and they will live under the same sky as the hungry beast that will be devastated. Yanj was wandering in the dark void of the moment, and sighed helplessly. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 905. If the words can take over the host's body before the host soars, the host's wish to accomplish this will be a little effortless. But now, this wish is too difficult. Of course, the main thing is that this task seems to have nothing to do with the green hat. Yanj confirmed with the chick, is this the order of the cuckold system? Why isn't it cuckold? In the eyes, Yan Ji likes to be a green hat spokesperson very much, and promotes the beautiful green hat to all parts of the world, making everyone like the green hat and the green-filled world. So now this task is not in line with the theme of the green hat. Yan Song was immediately nervous, for fear that the green hat system appeared so many times and then changed its face to another system. Fortunately, the chicken did not understand what the wood thought, and thought it was timid to this task. It's the task in the green hat system, and I don't know why it has nothing to do with green hat. He snorted. Lao Tzu has so many green hats on his head and his neck is almost broken. It's better than that Loch's a green hat. Yan Song opened his mouth and did not speak. She feels that the neck of the chick is about to be broken and it has nothing to do with the green hat, mainly because the neck of the chick is too thin. But with the howling voice of the chick, she decisively swallowed it back. Instead, he found a new voice. Are there powerful people in this plane? The chicken said doubtfully, no. Well, no. It was between certainty and uncertainty, and Yanj asked, how do you feel a little uncertain? Chicken, I'm not sure. The column of the identity information of a mighty person in this plane is blank. Generally, in this case, there will not be a mighty person in the plane. But who can determine this kind of thing? Right. It is very reasonable to say, but the eyebrows of the song are cleared up. The same is true of the planes where no powerful person was before. Is it only displayed in the green hat system? Chicken, it's always been that way. The chicken said, well, don't worry, it will definitely be displayed in some cases. It is now blank, indicating that it is not. Words of song. She changed the subject. Is this person who can only eat people in the world of God afraid of becoming such a guy? Is it a devouring beast? Chicken, I think only it can eat out of this realm. There are devouring beasts. It seems that the mighty one really does not exist in this plane. Yanj sighed. If you said I was in front of it, and told me I was his daughter-in-law, how would it react? Would it lead me to have a little devouring beast? Chicken, it will eat you in one bite. This answer is not even surprising. Yanj, well, then what do you say? To the guy who swallowed the heavenly beast, the words were seduced from the inside out, but she could especially understand those deities who dedicated others to the swallowed heavenly beast in order to survive. It's all like her, scared. A chicken is a beast. You will never be afraid in front of the same kind. It will only boil the blood of the beast. When you heard the words, you said, what are you afraid of? Your basalt pot is in your hand. Maybe you ended up eating it in the pot. After listening to the song, he immediately nodded, you're right, I can cook it with basaltic pot, hemp eggs, eat it for a few days and nights. As soon as the mind moves, it begins to call. However, what was summoned was not a basalt pot that could boil the devouring beast, but a feather duster. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 907. The host detoured. Yan Song was not ready to go. She intends to find a weak part of the space wall to leave the crack in the space. This way the host also passed. However, because the immortality in the body was thin and dry, the dead host could not break through the wall. Yanj thought he had a pan pot. With a pot in your hand, you can pop out of the wall with 2 clicks. But now, she only has green feathers in her hands, and she can only see the non-playable feather dusters. 9 tails, Miss Sister, at this time, you should think about me, the one I have in hand. Don't talk about the small space cracks, even the whole world, I can help you turn it over day. Yanj, are you sure you have other skills besides being a woman? Zhu Wei immediately dissatisfied and corrected his words, in fact, I am not bad at making men. Yanj was in no mood to talk nonsense with him, and rang a finger, and Zhu Wei appeared beside her, and she raised her chin to break the wall. Zhu Wei realizes that his impression in front of Yanj is not high at all. Rarely show his skills again. Of course, he has to be a high-definition fox with little ruthless words to improve his charm. So when Yan did not refute, but flung his tail to the dark void that seemed to have no barriers. The dazzling light spilled in at this instant, but it was Zhu Wei's tail that had smashed a gap in the space wall. Yan Ji narrowed his eyes slightly, and rushed towards the place with light in the next instant. As soon as one person and one fox can burst out of the void crack, the crack was closed again. This body has been in the cracks of the dark space for too long, and suddenly appears in the sun. It really cannot adapt to the surrounding light. And the surrounding fairy spirit is really strong. The host's body has not been tempered after entering the realm of the gods, so it cannot bear these fairy spirits. Yanj reached out and covered his eyes. Zhu Wei's claws pulled her skirt several times. After feeling that his eyes had adapted, Yan Ji lowered his head and looked at Zhu Wei, who was blowing on his heels. What's wrong? At the moment, Nine Tails' fox fur was standing upside down, and the only remaining tail was also vigilantly, "Sister, we are within the scope of other people's consciousness." As soon as the words fell, the space around them fluctuated, and two fairies like beautiful women appeared. It's not an exaggeration to say that the fairies aren't exaggerated at all. The two women don't have a bit of filthy air, they are just natural-born fairies. However, thinking that this is the highest realm in Xiaoxian realm, Yanj is relieved. These two little fairies should be natives. This time, I came to arrest her? Without waiting for the song to be confused, I saw the two little fairies suddenly squatting down and hugging towards the Nine Tails next to the song. One of the little fairies in a blue skirt said, "The small nine of King Kai ran away again, what a pity." The blue skirt held Zhu Wei in her arms, and the pink skirt touched the hair on Zhu Wei's body. Yeah, the King Kai tribe, such a little fool. If there is no one who is immortal, it will rise again. It is estimated that the first member of the King Kai family to send out is this little guy. It will go to sleep for another 100 years. Maybe everyone can cook until then. Difficult, the pink skirt fairy said in a low voice. I overheard my father talking to them. Now there are fewer and fewer soaring immortals, and that appetite is getting bigger and bigger, and it won't take a century, or can't hold on for more than a decade. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 908. And the most terrible thing is that there is no fairy spirit in the void cracks. Naturally, you can't cultivate the immortal ascension, or perform another space shuttle. This divine realm can only enter and not go out, and even if the host can shuttle in space, it cannot leave the divine realm. The host detoured. Yan Song was not ready to go. She intends to find a weak part of the space wall to leave the crack in the space. This way the host also passed. However, because the immortality in the body was thin and dry, the dead host could not break through the wall. Yanj thought he had a pan pot. With a pot in your hand, you can pop out of the wall with 2 clicks. But now, she only has green feathers in her hands, and she can only see the non-playable feather dusters. Nine Tails, sister Miss Sister, at this time, you should think about me, the one I have in hand. Don't talk about the small space cracks, even the whole world, I can help you turn it over day. Yanj, are you sure you have other skills besides being a woman? Zhu Wei immediately dissatisfied and corrected his words. In fact, I am not bad at making men. Yanj was in no mood to talk nonsense with him, and rang a finger, and Zhu Wei appeared beside her, and she raised her chin to break the wall. Zhu Wei realizes that his impression in front of Yanj is not high at all. Rarely show his skills again, of course. He has to be a high-definition fox with little ruthless words to improve his charm. So when Yan did not refute, but flung his tail to the dark void that seemed to have no barriers. The dazzling light spilled in at this instant, but it was Zhu Wei's tail that had smashed a gap in the space wall. Yan Ji narrowed his eyes slightly, and rushed towards the place with light in the next instant. As soon as one person and one fox cancan burst out of the void crack, the crack was closed again. This body has been in the cracks of the dark space for too long, and suddenly appears in the sun. It really cannot adapt to the surrounding light. And the surrounding fairy spirit is really strong. The host's body has not been tempered after entering the realm of the gods, so it cannot bear these fairy spirits. Yanj reached out and covered his eyes. Zhu Wei's claws pulled her skirt several times. After feeling that his eyes had adapted, Yan Ji lowered his head and looked at Zhu Wei, who was blowing on his heels. What's wrong? At the moment, Nine Tails Fox Fur was standing upside down, and the only remaining tail was also vigilantly, "Sister, we are within the scope of other people's consciousness." As soon as the words fell, the space around them fluctuated, and two fairies like beautiful women appeared. It's not an exaggeration to say that the fairies aren't exaggerated at all. The two women don't have a bit of filthy air, they are just natural-born fairies. However, thinking that this is the highest realm in Xiaoxian realm, Yanj is relieved. These two little fairies should be natives. This time, I came to arrest her? Without waiting for the song to be confused, I saw the two little fairies suddenly squatting down and hugging towards the nine tails next to the song. One of the little fairies in a blue skirt said, "The small nine of King Kai ran away again, what a pity." The blue skirt held Zhu Wei in her arms, and the pink skirt touched the hair on Zhu Wei's body. "Yeah, the King Kai tribe, such a little fool, if there is no one who is immortal, it will rise again. It is estimated that the first member of the King Kai family to send out is this little guy. After my death, the villain blackened again." Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 909. It will go to sleep for another 100 years. Maybe everyone can cook until then. Difficult, the pink skirt fairy said in a low voice. I overheard my father talking to them. Now there are fewer and fewer soaring immortals, and that appetite is getting bigger and bigger, and it won't take a century, or can't hold on for more than a decade. The blue skirt heard the words with a look of surprise, and the two looked at each other, both seeing the fear in each other's eyes. The lips trembled, and eventually they didn't speak again. This is really a problem that no one wants to face. They didn't talk about songs from beginning to end. In the eyes of these native people in the world, the immortals who have soared up are actually similar to the sacrifice of pigs, cattle, and sheep. Therefore, in the eyes of the two little fairies, the words in front of them are not really human. May not be as good as the silly fox in their mouth. When they turned to leave, Yanj immediately realized that her body was covered by an invisible cage, which dragged her behind the two little fairies. Really, even if you treat her like a cow, you can't drag her inhumanly like this. Although Yanj is a green and peace-loving tree, she has stubble all over her, so after being dragged a step, she summons the host's native sword. However, when her hand waved out, she realized that it was not a sword in the palm of her hand, but a green feather duster. Without waiting for the words to respond, the invisible net bag dragging her around disappeared at the moment when the feather duster touched. The two little fairies turned their heads to stare at the green feather duster on the singer. After each ascended person enters the realm of God, those immortals on his body will not be scavenged by the people of the divine world, because these people of the divine world despise the so-called low-level fairy. But now, the two little fairies were staring at the green fluffy feather duster among the singers. One of them reached out to scratch, probably trying to catch the feathers of the singer. However, the feather duster was inserted into the bun of Yan Ji's head, and it became a dazzling scenery. In terms of song, at this time, he rushed towards the two little fairies. At this moment, of course, she knew that she could rely on her host's ability, and maybe neither of them was a finger opponent. So when she rushed towards the two little fairies, she did not have any attack moves. The little fairies didn't pay attention to the words either, waiting for her to pull the feather duster above her head for research when she rushed over. Seeing that she was about to rush to the two little fairies, Yanj suddenly couldn't move forward. The two little fairies, as expected, stretched out their hands and swept over Yanj's head together. Yanj gritted her teeth against the restraining pressure that made her unable to move, and slowly raised her hands to touch the bodies of the two little fairies. The only thing left in her dantian was the immortal spirit running crazy at this time. In an instant, the body was twisted into a mass like the 5 internal organs and 6 rots. But at the same time, the song gritted his teeth, and his hands twitched tightly after touching the wrists of the two little fairies, holding them tight. This pain was like a storm, and the song expanded inside her body, ran along her arms, and spread to the two little fairies in a blink of an eye.